You know the song. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. It's a lovely thought, a comforting lie whispered from the silver screen, sung by a smiling nanny with a magical carpet bag and a talking umbrella. Julie Andrews, radiant and kind, floating down from the London sky to fix a broken family with whimsical songs and a little bit of magic. This is the Mary Poppins you know, the one Disney gave you. And it is a complete and utter fabrication. The story you have been told is a lie, a confection, a spoonful of sugar designed to make a very bitter, very frightening pill palatable. The character of Mary Poppins, as she was originally written by her creator, Pamela Lyndon Travers, is not a saviour. She is not your friend. She is a villain. This isn't speculation. This isn't a fan theory. It is written on every page of the original books, in the ink of a woman who despised what Walt Disney did to her creation. The books are not whimsical fantasies. They are dark, surreal, and often terrifying explorations of class, power, cosmic indifference, and the hidden violence of the Edwardian nursery. Once you understand that the real Mary Poppins is a creature of terrifying vanity and casual cruelty, you will see the truth. Once you learn that her magic is often a source of trauma, not joy, a force that exposes children to the horrifying, amoral machinery of the universe, you will understand. And once you read the stories where she psychologically torments the Banks children, abandons them to their fears, and presides over a world of cosmic horror, you will realize the Disney film is not an adaptation. It is a cover-up. Let's begin where the story does, at number 17 Cherry Tree Lane. In the Disney film, Mary Poppins arrives as a welcome relief, a magical answer to a want ad. She is firm but fair, mysterious but ultimately benevolent. The Mary Poppins of the book is a different creature entirely. She does not float gracefully down with her umbrella. She is blown violently against the gate by an east wind, so hard she is thrown to the ground. She doesn't interview for the job, she seizes it. She slides up the banister, an act that is not whimsical but unnatural, a violation of physics that immediately marks her as something alien. Her first interactions with the children are not charming. They are a brutal assertion of dominance. When Jane and Michael see the contents of her seemingly empty carpet bag, they are amazed. Mary Poppins' reaction is not one of shared wonder, it is fury. She accuses them of spying. She lies to their faces, denying what they saw with their own eyes. Her voice is, as Travers writes, terrible and threatening. This is our first, crucial clue. Her magic is a secret she keeps from the children, not for them. When they witness it, they are punished. They are gaslighted. They are taught to distrust their own senses. Imagine PL Travers writing these words, not in a sunny California studio, surrounded by smiling animators, but in a small cottage in the English countryside, or in a Spartan London flat. Picture a woman shaped not by Hollywood optimism, but by a difficult, nomadic childhood in rural Australia, a failed career as an actress, and a lifelong immersion in esoteric mysticism. Travers was a student of George Gurdjieff, a controversial spiritual teacher. She was deeply read in Zen Buddhism, Celtic mythology, and theosophy. For her, magic was not a party trick to tidy a nursery. It was a primordial force. It was dangerous. It was the connective tissue of a universe that was vast, ancient, and utterly indifferent to human happiness. Her Mary Poppins is not a human being. She is an avatar of this force, a pagan god stuffed into a nanny's uniform. And to understand why this terrifying figure was born, you have to understand the world she was born into. You have to understand the Edwardian nursery. From our modern perspective, we might imagine the nursery of a wealthy family in 1910 London as a place of comfort. A room filled with beautiful wooden toys, lace and warmth. A safe haven from the smoky industrial city outside. This is a fantasy. For the upper and upper middle classes, the nursery was a gilded cage. It was a site of profound emotional abandonment. Children of the elite were not raised by their parents. They were commodities, proof of lineage and status, to be kept upstairs, out of sight and out of mind. They were raised by a succession of strangers, governesses, nursemaids, nannies. The nanny was the absolute ruler of this small kingdom. Her power was total, but she was also a prisoner within it. She was a domestic servant, trapped by the rigid, suffocating class structure of the time. She was often a young woman, perhaps barely out of her own childhood, given immense responsibility, but afforded no personal freedom, no emotional outlet. She existed in a social no-man's land. Superior to the downstairs staff, like the cook and the housemaid, but infinitely inferior to the master and mistress she served. This unique position, a blend of absolute power and total subjugation, created a specific psychological type, the tyrant nanny. A figure who, denied respect and agency in the adult world, exerts a crushing, often cruel authority over the only people she can, the children. Her word was law. Her moods dictated the weather of the nursery. Her approval was the sun, her displeasure a freezing winter. Corporal punishment was not just accepted, it was expected. A smack with a hairbrush, a ruler across the knuckles, being locked in a dark closet, these were standard disciplinary tools. But the cruelty was often more subtle and more damaging. It was the casual humiliation, the cold withdrawal of affection, the constant reinforcement of the idea that the child was inherently naughty, difficult, and a burden. The children, in turn, were starved for the love of the distant, formal parents they saw perhaps for an hour a day, and were instead locked in a complex, toxic relationship with the woman who was their entire world. This is the system that created Mary Poppins. She is not a magical exception to it. She is its perfect, terrifying embodiment. Consider her defining personality traits. First, her vanity. The Mary Poppins of the book is breathtakingly arrogant and self-obsessed. She spends an enormous amount of time admiring her own reflection in shop windows, in spoons, in the pupils of other people's eyes. She constantly fishes for compliments and becomes huffy and vindictive when she doesn't receive them. This is not a cute quirk. It is the defining feature of her character. In a world that renders a nanny socially invisible, her vanity is a desperate, aggressive act of self-creation. She insists on her own perfection because the world insists she is a nobody. She forces the children to acknowledge her beauty and superiority because she has no other source of validation. Her narcissism is a weapon and a shield forged in the fires of class humiliation. Then there is her cruelty, which is constant, casual, and chilling. She is not stern but loving. She is just stern. She almost never shows affection. She calls the children names. She sniffs contemptuously at their questions. She offers comfort so rarely that the few instances it occurs are shocking. Her standard mode of communication is the sharp retort, the dismissive gesture, the cold shoulder. Let's invent a girl to make this real. Call her Miss Agnes. She is 22 years old, from a respectable but poor family in the countryside. She takes a position as a nanny in London. In the drawing room, with Mr. and Mrs. Banks, she is deferential, quiet, invisible. She curtsies. She says, "Yes, ma'am." She keeps her eyes downcast. But the moment that nursery door closes, she transforms. The weight of her own powerlessness in the house, her resentment of her employers' easy lives, her loneliness, it all curdles. She looks at Jane and Michael, these privileged children who will grow up to be masters and mistresses themselves, and she asserts the only power she has. She criticises Jane's posture. She mocks Michael's drawing. She denies them a second biscuit with a quiet, unarguable finality. Her authority is the one thing she owns, and she wields it without mercy. She isn't a monster. She is a product of a monstrous system. This is Mary Poppins. Travers simply gave this all-too-real figure a supernatural dimension. The magic is not a departure from this reality. It is an extension of it. The magic in the Disney film is safe. It's about spectacle and fun. A tea party on the ceiling, animated penguins, jumping into a chalk drawing for a jolly holiday. The magic in the books is anything but safe. It is raw, primal, and frequently horrifying. It's a window into a universe governed by strange, unbreakable, and amoral laws. Take the story of the gingerbread stars. Mary Poppins buys gingerbread cookies from a mysterious old woman. The cookies have gold paper stars pasted on them. Later that night, she leads the children up a ladder into the sky, where they meet the woman from the shop, who is revealed to be Maya, one of the 7 sisters of the Pleiades star cluster. They then proceed to paste the gingerbread stars into the empty blackness, creating new constellations. It sounds whimsical, but think about what happens next. They come down from the sky, and they eat the leftover gingerbread stars. The same stars they just saw become celestial bodies. In the Disney version, this would be a moment of wonder. In Travers's world, it is a lesson in cosmic consumption. You create, you destroy. You admire, you devour. The universe is a place of unsentimental, cyclical violence. It gets darker. In another story, the new one, the children witness the arrival of a new baby sister, Annabelle. But she is not just a baby. She arrives, as all infants do in Travers's world, with a memory of where she came from. She can speak the language of the wind, the sun, and the starlings. She carries with her the secrets of cosmic existence. But the world immediately begins to erase this knowledge. The process of becoming human is a process of forgetting. The baby slowly loses her connection to the universal whole. The story ends with the starling, her last link to that other world, flying away in sorrow, as Annabelle can no longer understand him. She has become just another human, trapped in the mundane. It is a profoundly sad, deeply Gurdjieffian tale about the tragedy of incarnation. The magic isn't the baby's wisdom. The horror is that she is forced to lose it. Perhaps the most telling and disturbing example is the chapter Bad Tuesday. In this story, Jane has a terrible day. She is cruel to her siblings, breaks a plate, and is consumed by an inexplicable rage. Mary Poppins, instead of comforting her or disciplining her, takes her on a bizarre journey. She forces Jane to travel around the world on a magic compass, but this is no jolly holiday. It is a terrifying, disorienting, and deeply colonialist nightmare. They visit a caricature of an Inuit man in the north, a stereotypical African family in the south, a cartoonish Chinese man in the east, and a caricature of a Native American man in the west. The depictions are shockingly racist, even for their time. But the horror for Jane is not the racism, it is the journey itself. She is flung from place to place, confronting menacing and alien figures. When she finally returns to the nursery, she is shaken and traumatized. Mary Poppins then reveals the truth. Jane didn't travel the world, she traveled inside herself. She met the savage men that live within her own temper. Think about that. The nanny's response to a child's bad mood is to induce a terrifying, racist vision quest, to convince her she is inhabited by violent, primitive men. This is not child psychology. This is shamanic psychological warfare. It is a million miles from supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. It is designed to break, not to heal. This was the cultural air Travers breathed. The turn of the 20th century was awash with spiritualism, theosophy, and secret societies. The horrors of industrialization and the looming catastrophe of the First World War made many people in the intellectual classes desperate for meaning, for a connection to something ancient and powerful. Seances were held in stuffy Victorian drawing rooms. People sought out gurus and mystics. They believed in astral planes, ancient masters, and cosmic vibrations. Travers's magic stems directly from this worldview. It is serious, it is esoteric, and it is not for children. The magic in her books is a constant reminder that the world of the nursery, the world of human rules and manners, is a thin, fragile crust over a churning abyss of ancient, incomprehensible power. Mary Poppins is the gatekeeper to this abyss. And sometimes she pushes the children in, which brings us to the most damning evidence of all, the moments of pure, unadulterated psychological cruelty that Disney scrubbed from the record completely. The moments that cement Mary Poppins as a villain. In the book, Mary Poppins Opens the Door, there is a story about a visit to the park. Michael is flying his kite, and it gets tangled with another. The other kite belongs to a boy named Dominic, who is from a mythical land called the Land of the Kites. Dominic has a dog with him. As the story ends, Dominic and his dog are pulled back up into their magical world. Michael, naturally, is sad to see his new friend go. He asks Mary Poppins, "Will he ever come back?" Mary Poppins' reply is not gentle. It is not kind. She looks at him with her cold, clear eyes and says, "He might, and he might not." She offers no comfort, no hope, just the cold, hard fact of loss and uncertainty. Then, to twist the knife, she adds, "And now the dog is gone and you can't pull his tail." She reminds Michael of a minor transgression at a moment of genuine sadness, a petty, cruel jab designed to assert her authority and dismiss his feelings. But even that pales in comparison to the story of the Marble Boy. In The Day Out from the first book, Mary Poppins takes the children to a magical circus held inside a chalk drawing, an idea Disney would later borrow and sanitize. In the book's version, the circus is strange and unsettling, and after they leave, Michael finds a small white marble in his pocket. He realizes it is one of the circus owner's waistcoat buttons. That night, he has a dream, a terrible dream. He is in a dark, empty place. He sees a small boy, made of white marble, crying. The marble boy is missing a button from his waistcoat. He tells Michael he cannot go home until it is returned. Michael realizes he has the button, but then a figure appears, Mary Poppins. She stands over the marble boy, her face dark and angry. She tells Michael, "You have a choice. You can keep the button and he will stay here forever. Or you can give it back." Michael, terrified, gives it back. But the nightmare is not over. Mary Poppins then turns to the marble boy. She tells him that for the crime of losing the button, he must be punished. And then, as Michael watches in horror, she takes the marble boy's hand and, one by one, she breaks his fingers. She snaps them off like twigs. The boy doesn't cry out. He simply crumbles into a pile of dust. Michael wakes up screaming. Let that sink in. The magical nanny, the supposed caretaker, enters her charge's dream to torture and destroy a magical creature as a form of collective punishment. This is not a lesson. This is an act of pure sadistic terror. It is something from a horror novel, not a children's story. So we have a nanny who is a vain, cruel tyrant. We have magic that is traumatic and horrifying. And we have stories that feature psychological torment and child abuse. What is going on here? Why did PL Travers write this character? She was writing a coded message. She was using the form of a children's book, a form that society deems harmless, to plant a series of subversive bombs. Mary Poppins is a critique of the British Empire itself. Arrogant, orderly, powerful, and utterly devoid of empathy. She rules her nursery with the same unquestionable and often brutal authority with which Britain ruled its colonies. Travers was also writing a critique of the spiritual emptiness of the modern world. The Banks family, particularly Mr. Banks, is trapped in the meaningless pursuit of money, cut off from the magic and mystery of existence. Mary Poppins, this pagan force of nature, crashes into their sterile lives not to make them happy, but to shake them to their core, to show them how small and fragile their world truly is. She was writing about the trauma of childhood itself, the pain of being small and powerless, the terror of a world you don't understand. She wasn't trying to soothe those fears. She was validating them. She was saying, yes, the world is a frightening place. Yes, authority is often cruel and arbitrary. You are not wrong to be afraid. Then, along came Walt Disney. The battle between PL Travers and Walt Disney during the making of the 1964 film is legendary. Travers hated the songs, she hated the animation, she hated the softening of her character. She fought him at every turn, and she lost. Disney was not an artist in the same way Travers was. He was a myth maker and a brilliant businessman. He was in the business of creating the American mythology of wholesomeness, optimism, and the eternally happy family. His brand was built on safety. Travers's dark, complex, deeply British and esoteric creation was fundamentally incompatible with that brand. He didn't want to adapt her work. He needed to gut it. He needed to transform its very soul. So began the Great Sanitization. The first and most important change was to Mary Poppins herself. The vain, cruel, terrifying cosmic entity was replaced by the charming, witty, and ultimately loving Julie Andrews. Her vanity became a cute, knowing wink. Her cruelty vanished entirely, replaced by a firm but fair sensibility. She became a romantic figure, a partner in adventure for Bert the chimney sweep. A relationship that does not exist in the books. The magic was the next to be scrubbed clean. The terrifying, traumatic journeys into the cosmic abyss were replaced with a jolly holiday. The horror of eating the stars was replaced by the fun of a tea party on the ceiling. The purpose of the magic was no longer to reveal terrifying universal truths. It was to tidy the nursery and entertain the children. It was defanged, declawed, and domesticated. The children's experience was inverted. In the books, they are often terrified, confused, and ultimately abandoned by Mary Poppins, who leaves abruptly and cruelly as she arrives, without a word of goodbye, leaving them heartbroken. In the film, the children are cherished, and her departure is a bittersweet moment of growth, not abandonment. And most telling of all is the change to the central message. The books argue that the world is a cold, hard place, and you must learn to survive it. The film argues that all your problems can be solved if your distant father just learns to loosen up and fly a kite. The profound systemic critique of class and society in the books is reduced to a simplistic story about a workaholic dad. The ultimate symbol of this sanitization is the spoonful of sugar itself. In the book, Mary Poppins gives the children their medicine. It tastes horrible. Michael protests, saying he doesn't like it. Mary Poppins, in a moment of pure gaslighting, insists it was delicious, a taste of lime juice cordial. Jane, who also found it horrible, is given her dose, and to her, it tastes like strawberry ice. Mary Poppins takes her own dose, and it tastes of rum punch. The phrase, "a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down," is never uttered. The point is that reality is subjective, and that Mary Poppins can alter your perception of it at will. It is an act of power, of control. The film turns this complex, unsettling event into a simple, literal slogan. A lie becomes a wholesome philosophy. The bitter medicine is gone, and only the sugar remains. The Mary Poppins you know, the one beloved by millions, is a product of the Disney Corporation. She is a carefully constructed fantasy designed to sell tickets and reinforce a specific, optimistic worldview. The real Mary Poppins is not a children's story. She is a warning. She is the ghost in the nursery. She is the embodiment of the cold, rigid, emotionally sterile authority that ruled the British Empire and the British family. A system that demanded order at the cost of love and obedience at the cost of self. The story endures even in its sanitized form, because some sliver of the original's coldness, her strangeness, still clings to her. We sense, deep down, that she is not what she appears to be. The original books are not relics. They are a crime scene, preserved in narrative form, documenting the psychological violence of a bygone era. They hold a memory of a time when childhood was not a protected space, and the person trusted with your care could also be the source of your deepest fears. Mary Poppins never came to save the children. She came to break them, just like the world she represented.